Hey kids, we are the Monday Movie Club Monday. Movie Club Monday.
On Sunday.
Today we're back to the Marvel Universe with the Eternals, which is number 26, if anybody's keeping count. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman, not eating, Joel Fenster, happy Hanukkah, and Mark Wotitzgartner, who has the entire cast squozed onto his screen, and Annie King, who is eating latkes because it's Hanukkah. All right, so The Eternals was released this month, and you have to go to the movies to see it, or you could just wait until it streams on Disney+. My review, take the S off, and that's how it felt, eternal. I know I said this. So this is the thing. This is the problem for me. There are so many emotions and ideas and so many characters, and they tried valiantly to make you feel connected to every single one of them. But at almost 3 hours, I don't know, it just, to use a phrase, buckles under its own weight. It's just too hard to accomplish 10 backstories when these people have lived for centuries. How are we supposed to get all of that in one movie? So, Joel or Mark, give us the comic book perspective. These are 10 characters, none of who we've been introduced before in the MCU universe. And they try and condense it into 3 hours. I mean, come on, it should have been at least 2 movies. Or Joel, don't you think it would have worked better as a TV series instead?
I think it would have worked better as a TV series because there is so much, not just with the characters, the amount of characters, but the thematic story points they're trying to hit. There was so much happening. It's kind of like, David Lynch's version of Dune. We're going to condense all this stuff that is complicated down into a 2.5 hour film, or in this case, a 2 hour and 46-minute film. And while this wasn't as confusing as that in spots, I think the story deserved to have more time given to it and not be crunched into that.
I didn't find it confusing. I just would have liked to known more about some of the characters, and then I would have been more invested in their stories.
I'm not, when it comes to the comic book versions, I'm not as familiar with them as I am with other parts of the MCU.
And you're saying version, so there's more than one?
Well, I mean, comic
like
book
they did it in the 60s and updated it in the 80s or some shit?
Not let's see, when did the Eternals first premiere? Sometime in the early 70s. It's a Jack Kirby creation. Jack Kirby, do I need to go who Jack Kirby is for everybody? Yes?
You should.
No idea. I've heard the name, but I don't know.
Jack the King.
Did he do Spider-Man?
No, Jack Kirby. That's the one hero you really can't give to Jack Kirby, because that was Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. But almost everything else in the Marvel Universe, all the big ones, Thor, Fantastic Four, the Hulk, even way back into the 40s with Captain America, that's Jack Kirby.
Oh, okay.
He really had a hand in the creation of all of that. And he has a very distinct style to his artwork. And he bounced back and forth between Marvel and DC over the years. He created what's known, the DC refers to it as Jack Kirby's fourth world. And that's Darkseid and all of those characters that come along with him in the DC universe. And the Eternals were kind of like starting to be the Marvel's sort of version of that, because he left DC in a huff, went back to Marvel and created these guys. So
and that was in the 70s.
That was in the 70s.
And then they were remorphed in the 90s
they've been
or something?
used and reused and abused and changed.
Almost every comic book superhero group changes. Every decade you'll have different members and so forth. So I'm sure, I don't know anything about this, but I'm sure it's the same thing happened here.
Yeah. And these are this lineup, I think, is pretty similar to the original lineup with one or two exceptions. So
well, that makes a lot of sense to me, because I kept, when I read about Icarus and I saw him, I was like, this is Superman light. I mean, this is basically Superman, but not quite as powerful.
But he's
I definitely thought that it definitely borrows heavily from the DC stuff. So here's my big question. They are Eternals, and it looks like for the most part they've avoided having families, but the black guy, Faustus, Fausto, Busto, Bisto,
Yeah,
Bisto,
Fisty.
he has a husband and a son, and they're gonna grow older, and he's gonna stay young-ish, and so I'm thinking, that's the reason why the others haven't done, had relationships, or at least we don't know, and we don't get a real sense of what made Fausto
Yes.
decide to commit to having this life. That would have been an interesting thing to follow.
My take on that real quick, without knowing anything other than what we saw in the film, is we don't know that. And who knows, back in 800 BC, one of them may have done the same thing because they were lonely and they only spent, a quick 80 years to them with somebody, or just 10 years or something like that. You don't know.
It's also obvious from the film that, at some point after Cersei and Icarus break up, Cersei decides that she's going to start a romance up with
Jon Snow. Yeah.
No.
But then of course, then she doesn't really want to be committed to him. And I think for the same reason, that she's going to stay young and he's going to get old and ugly. And so Cersei, who is Amy's cat she got from Karen Mann.
I said that to Amy. But her centuries-long affair with Icarus, again, didn't really resonate for me, didn't really move me. I'm like, man, whatever. They had no, wasn't, I didn't feel anything for them. And then Kinko just quips his way through eternity. What's his name? Kinko Biloba? What? Kingo.
Kingo.
Yeah.
And that's cute that he keeps playing his own son in the movies, but it was very reminiscent of other characters in the MCU that just go wisecracking their way through the whole movie. And again, there was no sense that they've been around for centuries and they've seen it and done it all. I mean, oh, you're giving us Lacus?
Oh, yeah.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I want some applesauce on it.
Yeah, with the applesauce.
But the revelation was great, though. I like that they were put here to help grow the population for the next.
That's not Mott's.
No, it's ShopRite. I mean, Stop and Shop.
I'm not commenting on that. The revelation was great, though, that they were put here to help grow the population for the next Celestial. That was great. But Sprite siding with Icarus and then deciding to become human so she could grow the fuck up was just all too convenient, because when Cersei gets this power out of nowhere to make this happen for her, and then they all forgive her when she was just about to kill their asses. I'm like, because she said, I'm sorry. It just too convenient. It was
when
like
you've known someone for when you've been a family for 5,000 years, you're gonna have little
stacks. Yeah. This for a fact? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, for a fact, yeah.
Okay. And there are great set pieces. It's what you expect from the MCU, but now it's too expected. It's like, whoa, now we got to have the big set piece. And there are some very familiar scenes. Something I kind of remember, and now I don't remember what it was the Loki trick? Is the Loki trick in this movie?
Well, no. That girl, Sprite, she casts illusions. So does Loki in a certain way. So she makes multiples of herself. It's all illusions. It is very similar.
Right.
Even Doctor Strange did that too.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, they're stealing from the DC movies because Superman has laser eyes, Flash can run really fast. So
yeah, but when it comes to superpowers, a lot of them repeat. You're gonna have a strong guy, you're gonna have a fast
There's only
guy.
so many superpowers you can have.
Yeah, I mean, if
It's
you
true.
want
Even within Marvel alone, you can each different group. I mean, the Thing on the Fantastic Four is a strong guy. Then everyone has a strong guy. Everyone, like you have a telepath. There's a lot of repetition.
Yeah, we could just start listing all the speedsters in either the MCU or the DC universe, and we'd be here for hours.
Yeah.
All right, go.
I got time.
Do you really care?
The latkes are getting cold. Okay, so my final assessment, and I didn't have any nits to pick because I didn't take notes during the movie. It's easier when I'm sitting here at home than being in the movie theater. At the end of the day, for me, there's just too many Eternals. And the movie, believe it or not, is actually too long and too short at the same time. That's what I think. It really is. And I would like to call them the Meh-ternals. Meh-ternals. Because that's how I feel. I'm giving it 2.5 stars.
Net of Steel.
I actually liked Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I did. All right, so they're the Meh-ternals as far as I'm concerned. Mark, you want to chime in now with your thoughts?
Sure.
You saw it on Friday, so it's fresh in your
Friday for a matinee. I saved my $2. I really enjoyed it, and maybe more so because of all the negative, all the shit that was talked about it. It's the first bad Marvel movie, which is not true, and it's the
it was the one that the critics gave the least amount of positive.
I wonder how they really scored Thor: The Dark World. If we go back and read that, I can't imagine it getting really great reviews. I mean, Joel.
Well, Joel puts no love in for Rotten Tomatoes, so I can't really speak to that about that. Go on.
I enjoyed it. It worked for me. It wasn't too long. To me, I compare this one to I would say Zack Snyder's Justice League, which Joel obviously knows a lot about. To me, that movie was too long. That should have been shaved back at least 15 minutes. That was a 4-hour movie. That was too long, but it was a really good movie. This one I felt was the right length for me. I went into this hearing all these things, so I said, let me be smart about it, and I went on Wiki beforehand and I looked up the plot, and I looked up because I don't know any of these characters. While I knew the basics, I knew of the Eternals. I knew that they were superpowered beings that lived, that were immortal, and they, whatever, they were here on Earth. That's it. So I looked up each character, and okay, the actor that's playing this character can do this power. So I kind of went into it knowing at least a little bit about it. So I wasn't confused. I really enjoyed what they did with when and I, like you said, I was going to say that too about the set pieces. When we were in Babylon in 5000 BC, they told you, and I feel like sometimes I'm just dumb because I feel like some movies they go back and forth when they do flashbacks. Sometimes they don't tell you, and that really, really irks me because I get confused really easily. And I'm like, where are we in 1948? Are we in 2008? I don't know where we are. Here they said, right, nice and Mark, we're in Mesopotamia. It's 1200 AD now. And
yeah, I
as
agree
you said,
with you. That worked fine for me.
It told me where we were. I believe that we were in, those areas. They did a great job with everything looking like it should have. Where else were they going to say? What I didn't like,
I didn't find it confusing at all.
No, it wasn't to me. And what I found more was, yeah, you have a great point, and it's what everyone's talking about. Should they really have made this into one movie where they're introduced 10 new characters and it's a 5,000 long story? So is it really? Maybe no, but it worked for me. I did not like the overly, right behind me, all the superhero poses. Every time they walked out of a ship, it was, I can't stand the overly cheesiness of that. I hated the end when Icarus flew into the sun. It was like, all right, just punch me in the face with symbolism.
Annie and I said the same thing. Like, oh, come on. He had to fly into the sun.
Yeah.
He's Icarus.
And I don't. Anyway, any of our 3 fans that actually watched these videos, if you're also Game of Thrones fans, as you said, I mean, I found it interesting that they got a character named Cersei to have a love triangle with 2 Stark brothers. I mean, that was a little silly there.
Who's
and
the
lastly,
other Stark brother? Wait.
Icarus was Robb Stark.
Oh, okay.
The one who got the Red Wedding. He was the guy
pretty early on, right?
Oh.
Did he get
he was.
killed
If you
pretty
watch it, he was the end of the 3rd season was the Red Wedding, the infamous scene where he got. Yeah, pretty nasty.
I knew him, but I didn't know from where.
He was also Elton John's love interest and producer or something in Rocket Man, the movie that came out a couple years ago. It was his lover. Lastly, for me, from this day forth, every
Annie,
time I
don't forget
unleash.
you're on mute. Okay, because it looks.
She's chewing. She doesn't want to hear us chewing.
It looked like she was talking there for a second.
Anyway,
He could be the deaf girl.
And we'll
Who's
be
on
the
Game of,
attorneys.
who's on Walking Dead? She's on The Walking Dead.
Is she?
Yes. And I can speak, I can sign somewhat. What are
I
you doing,
can
shit?
too. This means full of shit.
This
Full
means
shit.
Santa Claus. And this
What
is
mean-
Hanukkah,
What's Santa Claus?
from what I was
That's
taught
not
when
what
I
that
was-
looks like.
That's why I purposely did it here, not,
This means move it along.
All right, that's it for me. I was just gonna end it with a little joke.
Wrap
saying
it
that
up.
from this-
Wrap it up. Joke? Go ahead, give us a joke.
I was just gonna end it by saying, from this day forth, every time I unleash Marx Jr., I'm gonna call it the emergence. Stand back, the emergence is happening.
oh God, poor Danielle.
It's happening.
I thought we were changing the name. It wasn't gonna be Mark Jr. anymore.
It's got a lot of names.
All right.
Yeah.
I was going somewhere with that.
Thank God we only have 3 fans.
You probably have 2 now.
2 now. Sorry.
They
Sorry.
just
How many
laughed. They're like,
stars?
"Ooh."
How many
Um,
stars?
All right, you didn't
Oh,
star
yeah,
us, yes.
Sorry. 3.25 I'm giving it because I gave Shang-Chi 3.5 and I felt like this was not quite as good, but this is what I gave Captain Marvel, and I was I hated the trailers for this movie and Captain Marvel were, in my opinion, horrendous. It made the movies look bad, and again, I was pleasantly surprised when going in to see it.
Anne, were you pleasantly surprised?
I was, oh, did you say Aim or Ann?
I said aim, yes.
I liked it much more than I thought I would based on just everything we heard. And the Eternals got 48 tomatoes and Thor the Dark World got 66. But I'm a little bit Joel on this because Eternals was never as low as 48 up until just a week or 2 ago. It was in the 60s and all of a sudden it like tanked to 48. So something weird is going on. I mean, I
Well-
understand that the audience score will bring something down, but the audience score isn't going to bring the critics down. The audience is at 80. So something's a little wackadoodle here.
Well, you're dealing with a company that's owned by Warner Brothers, essentially, that is reviewing movies from a company owned by Disney.
Not necessarily, because they're usually pretty highly rated, the MCU movies.
Yeah, very.
They usually are. There are a lot of 90s going on in them.
I think it's a lot of, I think some of the critiques of it are potentially because it's a diverse cast. There's a gay guy, a gay black guy, who, I don't know. I feel like there's some,
He checks
People
2
want red-
boxes.
yeah, but some people aren't ready to accept it. And I think maybe that's why some people were not into the movie. That's my view.
I could see that definitely with the audience.
Yeah.
But not with the
Oh, yeah.
critics. The
Yeah, but
critics
not so
should
much-
be all like, you go, girl.
Yeah.
Unless they're Fox News critics.
Oh, sure. So there's
Okay.
nothing really I can say because I unfortunately saw this 2 weeks ago and I can't see a movie 2 days ago and review it. So 2 weeks ago, I'm
So
like,
nothing we said spurned your memory?
yeah, and I pretty much agreed with just about everything everybody said. I did leave it and I sat next to Annie during the credits and said, okay, now can you really explain to me what the hell happened in this movie? There's just so much going on and so many characters with such crazy names. It's so hard for me to follow it. I feel so stupid sometimes when I watch the Marvel movies.
Yeah, but I definitely felt it was easier here because you had the little kid, you had the Asian one, you had the
That's
black
true,
guy,
yeah.
you had
Yeah.
the other Asian lady, you had the Indian guy. So
And,
it
yeah,
was
and,
easy. They didn't really look alike.
I totally agree with that. And a lot of the names were familiar names, like Athena is Athena, so I knew. And of course, I know Angelina Jolie and
Right.
Salma Hayek, so that definitely helped. So I'll give it 2.5 stars. I did like it, but I wish I would have followed it better. And my mind was wandering because, it's so fucking long. Although it didn't feel, as much as I hate any movie over an hour and 45 minutes, it did not kill me in terms of length. It really didn't. So that's a definite positive.
Did
So
you
you
make
can-
it without going to the bathroom? I
Oh,
had
yeah,
to run to the
never. I
bathroom.
never leave in a movie.
Oh,
Never.
I did.
If I did, I'd really have no idea what's going on.
So you can handle a longer one at times. Is that what you're saying? If it's
I
Santa
mean, I
Claus.
know I can go without urinating for 3 hours of my life.
No, because you're sitting there drinking a Diet Coke
That's why you
No.
never go for the quarter for the extra size. Get
and,
the size you want. And
but I,
don't
no, I
skip
think
up.
I think I made it through the whole movie too, because I was aware that it was 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, even if I have to pee, I can hold it.
Oh, it wasn't 3 hours and 45 minutes?
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I felt it. Okay. And
Yeah,
happy Hanukkah? How's your latkes?
it was very good. Morgan made it without matzah meal because she's trying to
Okay.
go gluten-free. So she made it with the potato starch from the potatoes. So they
Sounds
came
like it
out
would've
really
been great.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Kids
yummy.
today.
Yeah.
That's how Natasha always makes them. She never makes them with matzah meal. She makes them with potato starch.
Oh, nice. Okay, so they came out really, really great.
They look a little thick. I like the, oh
So-
no, that
Oh,
was good.
that-
That was good.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
Taste it
Yeah.
from here.
yeah.
All right.
It's very good.
You know, I
So-
actually look like my background is like a background.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes,
I should never put the cabinet back.
Yeah.
no need. Except where you're gonna put your dishes.
Just hang
That
them on
is
the
all.
wall like they're paintings.
So.
All right,
well,
Annie, you sat next to Amy asking all questions. What?
Yes,
What's
so-
going to happen? Where are they going? Why are they doing that?
Who's that?
Who's that again?
Well, what I did this time was I asked for the closed caption reader while I was at the theater.
Smart.
So
That's
it's
a
this
thing?
yeah, it's this thing that sits in the cup holder, has a long neck and a little box like that with a screen on it. And it gives you the written word as the movie's playing.
Like
But
being
you're
at the
still
opera.
watching. You're still watching the screen, right? And you
Right,
just
so if
have the
you lean
words.
back, it must be like something at the opera, I think that they have.
Yeah,
if you
that's
lean
the Met, they
back-
have that.
And you kind of position it right on the screen. You can watch the movie and read the, like, closed captioning on your TV.
Yeah, or subtitles for a foreign film.
Right, like subtitles, yeah.
That's interesting.
It
That's
was,
interesting.
Yeah,
So
when you
so
go to
then
the
they were.
theater,
So then you saw names and stuff.
yes,
made it
and
was
who was talking and stuff like that, yeah. So that was kind of interesting. And then, of course, after the movie, I had to ask the people behind me if that bothered them at all, and they said not at all.
Right.
They didn't notice it at all, so an interesting thing, you should try it next time you go to a movie.
Amy,
It's
were you
free.
peeking over at times and
Every
seeing-
once in a while, I went like this,
Yeah.
just to see.
So, yeah, so, I liked it. It was interesting. I thought the biggest problem was that they said that they were there to keep the population going and yet did nothing about the snap, like that would have been the perfect time to step in. So I thought they ruined their whole premise for.
Yeah,
being
and
there.
didn't the black guy create the atom bomb? Wasn't it his fault?
Well,
Um,
he get the technology he provided them led to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice way to keep the population going.
Right, so I thought that kind of just made it a silly thing because you could have stopped that and not
I
have
like
to
that they
wait.
referred to it during the movie. Somebody said something about why didn't you help the Avengers or something? Didn't they?
It's a
Right.
comic book. You just accept it.
Right.
And I thought the history parts were fun the first couple of times when they did history and how they inserted themselves into the history and what happened. I thought that was fun, but after a while I was like, okay, I get it. It's fine,
So
You
you
don't
found
have
it
to
a little
do it.
monotonous.
Yeah.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
wanted more of those so we could see more of who they were.
Yeah, I found it interesting the first couple of times, but
You
then
know,
I was
like if it was a
okay.
TV series, it would have been like, sorry, Joel, it would have been like Lost. So every week you'd have had the backstory of one of the 10 characters while the current story was going on, like they always used to do on Lost, which I thought was always great fun.
Which they do on lots of other shows too. You just pulled that out of your ass to annoy me. So
No, I don't. I honestly don't know another example except for the one I just said.
okay,
Give us another.
Yeah.
One.
no, you
No,
don't
because
deserve.
there's not another one.
No, 'cause you don't deserve one right now.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you can't even think of one.
So, yeah,
oh
anyway,
fine. Look, you want to start listing Star Trek shows in alphabetical order, chronological order, where you learn about.
Oh,
each-
I don't remember
Yes,
that
they
getting
do.
backstories
They
on
do the
Star
same thing.
Trek.
Yes, they do. They do the
Wrap
same
it
thing.
up. Wrap
Wrap
it
it
up.
up.
Sorry, Annie.
They do backstories on Star Trek. I
Yes,
don't
they
remember
do.
that.
Anyway,
Never
so
saw it.
my question is this going to go forward? Are we going
Yeah.
to get other backstories to the
Yeah.
other people or?
Where are we going exactly?
Yeah.
I mean, at least with phase 1, 2, 3, we knew those characters. It wasn't like, and here we'd never heard of any of these people.
Right, and then I just didn't know if we're going to get more of these people.
I assume we are.
Not a couple of them.
Yeah.
Put it out because we have that.
So, but and that's pretty much my only complaint. It was good. It was interesting. I like the historical. I like seeing it, but I just felt there's a lot of questions and stuff. So I'm giving it a 3.
Would this is the other thing. I don't know Zoe Chow well enough to know her style or anything. I saw that one movie, No Man Land. Did she have any real influence over this? Joel, did you see?
From interviews, I'm not that familiar with her work. I still haven't had a chance to see Nomadland, but
It's very good. You should watch it.
I know. But from the interviews I've read, both from her and from the actors and Kevin Feige, that they really wanted her to kind of do something different, which she definitely did in that sense. I think there was an interesting review of the movie where the person basically said, this is probably the most interesting MCU film to date and the least interesting Chloe Zhao film to date.
Ah, that's great.
But I think there's a lot, as I said, there's a lot going on here. I'm going to agree with just about everybody in everything they've said. I think that there's another group of characters in the Marvel universe in the comics that are similar to the Eternals. They're called the Inhumans, and they were
The humans?
the Inhumans.
Inhumans.
Yes, they were originally supposed to get a movie as part of phase 3, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they wound up shifting them to ABC and a TV series, and it ran for 8 episodes, and it's a slog. I mean, at 8 episodes, it felt like 47 hours long, and the characters are kind of not real interesting in that, but I feel like that they were like, well, for whatever reason, we got rid of the Inhumans. We have to bring somebody else like them in. Who do we have? Well, all we have are the Eternals, so we're going to go with them. And I think they would have benefited, as you said, Frank, as a TV series, because there are so many characters and we can get different backgrounds and we can see how they've played out over the centuries or the millennia even.
Right, without one of those annoying montages.
Exactly, and it you still could have had the back and forth with present day and past, and it would have worked beautifully. And I'm not really sure why they didn't go that way with this. It's a beautiful looking film. I think as a piece of cinema, it works really well. Story wise, and character wise, there's just so much going on that, as you said, it's both too long and too short. But I think I liked it a little bit more than you did. And I'm going to agree with Annie. I think it's a 3-star film. I don't really have much else to say about that. I saw it opening weekend. So that was
We did too. We did too. Yeah.
But I do want to see it again. I mean, one thing I know that both both my wife and I have talked about is, wanting to see it again. I also got angry at the bullshit behind the scenes with, people complaining that it's too diverse and it's too this and they're pandering to that. I was like, that just made me want to defend the movie even more. And I had problems with it, which annoyed the crap out of me. I don't want to do that.
Hey, so in the comic books, they're not diverse? Let's look.
Let's
It
right
looks
here.
like, it looks like my shirt has all paint on it.
It does.
Like I did a terrible job painting the wall, but it's actually my
Yeah,
Jurassic.
no, here's
Ah,
I don't know if you can see this. They're kind of diverse still.
Yeah, that guy looks Indian.
So yeah. So I don't know. It's I just started reading this actually, so I need to.
And and of course, Kamal is that his name? Was all excited to do this movie because he got in shape. That's what you do when you
Yeah,
do.
he got jacked. Good for him.
He did, yeah.
But I am looking forward to seeing what they do in the future
Right.
with not just with these characters, but not just them, with also with Shang-Chi. It's like where we knew where we were going before. Phase 1 was leading to the Avengers. Phase 2 was leading to more Thanos, and then Phase 3 is the end of that.
Right.
Where
I
we
don't
go
see
from
I don't see a thread yet.
Yeah,
No, but
there is a
Did we start phase 4 with Black Widow or no?
yes, Phase 4
That's
started
where it
with-
started?
Yeah. And
Yes.
and there is a thread, but it's not in the movies right now. It's on the TV shows. They're leading towards a creation of what in the comics are known as the Young Avengers, that there's younger replacement versions of the major characters. So, well, to an extent, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't necessarily say that Sam Wilson is a younger version of Steve Rogers at this point, but essentially that's kind of where they seem to be headed there. But how do the rest of these characters that we're seeing on the big screen fit into that? And
Right.
I guess Yelena from Black Widow does fit into that. So
Yeah, we
Joel,
saw
I have
her.
a question. I have
Yeah.
a question for you, Joel. Do you think, and I don't know where this phase is going, but with introducing the Celestials like this, and I know we've seen Nowhere before, but to me that opens the door to Fantastic Four and Galactus. Galactus
Yes.
is a huge planet-eating alien, and then that can open the door to Secret Wars, which to me would be fantastic as like Phase 5.
who knows? I mean, that's the thing, is like right now with everything kind of getting pushed back, when they announced all the movies that were coming up, and Fantastic Four is on the list for late 2023, it might be in even 2024 at this point. Is that the end of Phase 4? That would, and how are they building into that exactly? And you've got the whole multiverse thing going on between, WandaVision and Loki and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. And then you've got the Young Avengers threads with Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and now Hawkeye. And, and how is, I guess we can jump in and talk about the post-credit sequence. How does Harry Styles fit into all this, Star Fox? So it's going to be interesting.
I
But-
was gonna say the post-credit sequence, but
Sorry,
now you did.
no, I said
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even remember. We started this obviously almost 12 months ago, 11 months ago. And so when they first started the MCU, we didn't start connecting things for a few movies, right? It was
no, the end
they were
of
pretty standalone, weren't they, when we first started?
well, the movies themselves, yes, but they all had post-credit sequences.
Right,
Iron Man,
right.
Nick Fury showing up, and then
Right,
Hulk, the Incredible Hulk has Iron Man showing up, and then
right.
you know,
Kevin
so-
Feige had things in his head.
Tesseract kept showing up.
Now he
Yeah.
has rocks in his head.
Right.
All right, cool. Anybody have any other comments?
Well, I just are the again with the post-credit sequence,
Right. Harry
obviously
Styles.
we have Harry Styles appearing as Eros, Thanos' brother, also known as Star Fox, who was an Avenger during the 80s. And then you've got Dane Whitman, who in the comic books is the Black Knight. I'm not sure exactly why the voice speaking to him was Blade, but we'll find out at some point. Because that was Mahershala Ali giving a cameo voiceover for a character he's been hired to recreate, which should be cool.
Joel, I think I saw something on that, and they said that in the comics there was at one point a series where all these bladed warriors, including both of them, were on a team together. So maybe that's what they're leading up to.
Sure, that could make sense.
Anyone with
Yeah.
a sword is welcome.
And I mean, Hawkeye just introduced the swordsman, so maybe that's going in a similar direction. Who knows? So
Yeah, I had no idea who anybody was in that post-credit sequence.
Oh, yeah, God, no. Can I ask a
Well,
quick,
sure, go ahead.
I just was wondering, why are we not watching Hawkeye as part of this Fakakta thing?
We
Yes.
are. Of course
Frank
we are.
hasn't set up the schedule for next year yet.
Yeah, it's not going to be done until next year,
No, it's going to be done before the end of the year.
is
They
it?
dropped 2 episodes on Wednesday. 3 will be this Wednesday.
Oh,
4, 5, and
Oh.
6, and we're done. It'll be done before the end of the year.
oh,
Is it
I
Maybe
six
that's
thought,
it for
1 hour
Spider-Man then.
episodes?
Yeah, they're each hour-long episodes.
Okay,
I thought it was going to be 6 hours, so January.
yeah.
I
But
guess we know what
um,
we're doing the first week of January then.
It is 6
Yeah.
hours. They just dropped the first 2 episodes the first week. So
right. But I was thinking 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can catch up to that, right? January, whatever that first January meeting is.
Yeah.
That'll be our first. So there you go, Amy. You got homework now. I hope you're happy. Teacher, are we gonna get homework? I want to watch Hawkeye. All right. Anybody else?
Nah, I'm good.
Didn't we see him in something else though?
Who?
Okay.
Oh, that Mayor of Kingstown thing I watched. Okay. Next week, back to Spidey and Andrew Garfield's turn as Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man. We can discuss next week exactly why they felt they needed to do another. I've never seen it. Is it a reboot, a remake, a useless rehash? What is it?
Yes, all of that.
All of the
above.
Well, we'll find out next week. I'm Frank Gaffney. We'll MCU next week. Yay!
And also with you.
Do realize